The Miyoo Flip is actually one of those newer devices that released some time ago. However, in the beginning I've read a lot of people had problems with the clamshell design, that the mechanism inside was breaking. Before I was actually just wanted to review this product, I asked this, let's say, store if this problem is still there, and they're claiming it isn't. So I'm really curious what's going on with this and what can we do. So at the back we're finding actually some specifications. So it comes with the A55 1.8 GHz and a 3.5 inch IPS panel with a resolution of 640 by 480, only 1 GB of RAM. However, if you're going to be checking the specs, this is not going to be the most powerful handheld out there. I think with this, let's say, many releases, I can also say like diarrhea, the flow of working devices. I can tell you that many of these devices will have like their own, let's say, unique touch to them, but most of them can play all of the same stuff. So I mean, particularly when it comes to 8-bit, 60-bit, and games like that. So in here already having, okay, that was a supersonic fast SD card. In this video we're going to be checking out like a 64 GB. I do wonder if this is an original SanDisk Guild, well, it seems to be. However, first of all, like the problem I have noticed with a lot of, let's say, manufacturers giving us like these cheap SD cards. That's not the case with this time. Okay, so we're opening it up. I must say that I really love this look of, let's say, the Miyoo Mini or the Miyoo Flip thing. I always love this time Mini because I'm still used, let's say, playing with that thing, because it's one of those favorite devices I've played for a long time. The Miyoo Flip is actually an interesting concept and something we did see before. So where we had a lot of problems with the mechanism, let's see what is actually different. Okay, so it does have like this crazy click effect. I cannot tell if this was with the previous one. I was thinking about doing this for like 50 minutes just to see what happens, you know. Just keep doing that to see if this thing starts to fail. But that is something we're going to be maybe making an update about if something is going wrong. However, the mechanism they're using is different. I mean, particularly when you're going to be looking into what other devices we've checked out. So first of all, some of them cannot even have this in a complete, let's say, horizontal, let's say, position. And the click mechanism makes that possible. However, if this is going to be better, newer than the new ones, yeah, that's something very, very difficult to actually see. I think you need to use this thing for a very long time. So turning on can be done over here at the side. So this one does come with an original firmware pre-installed. There are a little bit different versions out there. So what I love about the Flip itself is that we do have like the D-pad configuration. And they went for the micro switch version. That makes it, okay, you're going to be hitting it or loving it in that case. And of course the ABHY at the same configuration with a very flat design. And with the flat design, we do have this very nice touch. I just find it very pleasant to actually play and use. However, this is more like a personal thing. We're having the M button over here for the menu or the special menu to call in the game itself. Having two analog sticks. Select and start over here. The physical volume control. We can even add a second SD card. So that's going to be convenient if you want to have the configuration of one for the firmware and another one for the games. And then of course we're having at the top the shoulder buttons with the new configuration having a different height, meaning if you're going to be holding it like this, it's going to be easier to touch. However, I did notice like with some of the devices, we do have like different configuration, and I mean particularly when it comes to the button position. And this one is very nice, like they're having this on the corners, making it super easy to press. This is a very nice micro switch underneath, and on top having the USB-C and an HDMI out. So this thing does have like a lot of cool features. At the bottom the headphone jack, USB-C, and a total 3000 milliamp battery. But when you're going to be flipping it close, it will automatically go into the mode and shut down to save some battery. So that mechanism, or at least this piece of software, seems to be working fine. I just wanted to do a quick peek at the original software, what is going on, and is it actually worth just picking up, or do we need to upgrade the software itself? Listening to this music, I can still not really recall where it's actually from. So having over here favorites, and with the game we're going to be having all kinds of different emulators. So this thing is capable of running all kinds of different, let's say, emulators. I love it when I put Dreamcast and N64 in it, because, you know, oh boy, it's going to be having me so complaining about something, because this is going to be a hit or miss. The same with PlayStation Portable. Let's see what kind of games. So the two-dimensional, the simple stuff can be running on this, but we're going to be doing a lot of things puzzling to get these things to run. It's absolutely pushing the device to the limit, having a retro arc, and I love the banners, you know. This looks really smooth. I love it. DOS box over here, nothing in here. CPS, there are no screenshots, so that's quite unfortunate. Oh, there we have. But it looks a little bit messy when you have some random picture over there. Having applications, USB mass store if you can mass storage, and other kind of applications if you want to start it up. Seems to be there's even under the apps we're having over here Sonic Mania, Half-Life, and a Wipeout. Okay, so that was going to be interesting to look at. Settings, and in the settings we're having brightness. I'm not going to be setting it to the maximum, but the screen goes very bright. Also the frequency can be changed out. If you want to don't see any weird thing going on. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. We have colors over here. You can even check this out. Calibration, key mapping, turbo input. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that is a very cool piece of software that we can actually implement turbo. That is super convenient if you want to play shmups, like I love to do. Now adjust the volume over here. The audio quality comes from the speaker in the middle, but so far. Theme, having the default, Cosby Flip. Ooh, that looks really nice. There is some cool version out there. Ooh, this looks also very smooth. But let's get into some gaming and let's see what is going on with this. In the app I noticed a couple of games like Sonic Mania, but I can tell you that loading times are going to be really long with these particular devices. Low budget devices like these are not like super powerful enough to run a lot of different basic 8-bit, 6-bit stuff. But if you're getting into these apps, oh man, it takes really forever to actually boot up. So this is a really pleasant experience. It can be if you want to just wait for like 5 minutes or so to freaking boot up this thing. I can't keep on talking, but you get the point. Oh, there we go. Finally! The audio is always very low for this particular game, but let's take a close look at the game itself. Let's see what kind of version actually. Yes, I used actually also the just English version. Sometimes these very rained Asian versions that I have no idea what it's actually saying. But you can see between parts, it will take up a lot of time to actually load up. Let's see if this is going to be working. Okay, I think I figured correctly. So that is cool. But I must say that when getting into the game itself, I noticed that it loads very quickly. Also, the analog sticks have been configured. Let's see. Yep, there we go. I'm just going to be playing with the D-pad. It's also a great test to see how it responds. It does have some resistance when it comes to the D-pad, but overall performance is absolutely great. So besides the crazy loading time, particularly in the beginning, this game runs really smooth. So where I needed to wait for the Turtle game to boot up, the Sonic Mania was pretty fast, almost instant, so that's kind of nice. Moving on to the gameplay itself, I think it's absolutely amazing to see that these low power devices even have the option to play some Sonic Mania nowadays. But let's move into the gameplay. There isn't even a save, so that means that that part seems to be working fine. So volume-wise, they're using one single speaker, but you know, it's not a problem. The audio itself, yeah, I must say, it's not bad itself. With the resolution of the screen, this is not of course perfect for playing these newer generation games, but so yeah, I can really enjoy this. But let's start off with some arcade, and I can still remember playing this game on the, I think with some of these like cheaper devices, they always struggled, but nowadays we can just play this without any problem. However, let's take a close look at the D-pad, because that's going to be like the next ultimate test. For two-dimensional games, it's just fun. And again, there's dashing. So I'm getting fond of these kind of D-pads, like really low travel, or at least short travel. Very instant. This works absolutely great. I am loving this. So for fighting games, let's try the analog stick. I'm not the biggest fan of this. And this is for the simple reason. So if you're going to be looking into, let's say, playing some fighting games with a analog stick, I don't like it, but the simple reason because these things are very tiny and they're like very short traveled, and I can tell you that it's not that great. I must say that when it comes to the joysticks, I'm a bit D-pad gamer, but for the analog sticks, no, that's not going to be something I'm going to be enjoying. But I find it also very fascinating to see that we can actually play some Sega Dreamcast on these cheaper devices now. Of course, with the more expensive ones, we're going to be having upscaling and all kinds of cool features that is not going to be having with this particular model, but out of the box, this is nice. Oh, I'm going to lower the volume a little bit because it's very high pitched. That is one of the biggest downsides to the audio itself. But yeah, out of the box, I must say, nice overall performance. But what is actually going to be shining on these devices are the really old school games. Yeah, Sega Dreamcast of course has a great resolution, but if you're going to be looking into some old school Sega Genesis, this is the stuff that you're going to be needing to play on this. It can bring you this with you, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see if I'm going to get my ass kicked, but like always. Also, the travel buttons is very pleasant to play with. So the way you're going to be playing this is going to be superb. Oh crap, they did it again. However, if you're going to be playing some beat 'em ups, D-pad, love it. Yep. So the resolution on the screen doesn't really match the one with the Game Boy Advance for what I understand of, so they implemented the bezel to give you the perfect overall, let's say, the resolution experience. But yeah, Game Boy Advance, one of those very cool devices that has so many cool games. And also this will run just fine on these devices. But if you're going to be liking the bezel, that is something of a different story. Next up, we can also make a quick load session by pressing the M button over here. So you can actually see that that's very easily just going to be saving. And that's it. You can go to the loading page, and here having only one record, but let's say we're going to be making two of them. Go into the loading, and you can actually choose the one. I love that they implemented the screenshot. We have the option to play with NetPlay, native menu, and here we can actually get into the menu itself and mess around if you want to. But when it comes to the freedom at this point to do whatever you want, yeah, there's some little bit of tweaking going on. And of course, like the start will bring you back to the main menu itself. So yeah, when it comes to that and everything, the navigation, it's kind of nice. But another thing I noticed is like having some really cool stuff like Miyoo on here. Mighty Street Fighter, the Super Street Fighter 2 NES update, whatever. And Miyoo is an engine that you can actually create your own game. So I do wonder how many of these games that you can basically made on Linux or Windows that you can use for this. So Miyoo is something I don't really see often. I still remember that I've made a lot of those very funny games where you can just play with Ryu against Goku from Dragon Ball. That's kind of weird that we don't have those characters to play with, but it doesn't matter. It's a little bit of a bummer that the screen is not perfect. I mean, in particular when it comes to, let's say, this like really massive black bar, but you can see that is the NES style, but it is actually just the engine or the mechanics of the newer versions. Can I do the super move? Yep, I can do that too. Oh, that is freaking awesome. And that is what I love about these very strange devices, to find the very cool homebrew Miyoo stuff that you can just make yourself and add to this. The N64 is a system that will struggle. I noticed that it has a very tiny list on here with not many games, and that is the simple reason because this is a system that is going to be struggling on a device like this, where this is somehow playable. You can see that it stutters. For me, it's absolutely freaking annoying. It stutters, and that is one of the things that we're going to be leaving. I would say like just remove all of the freaking N64 stuff, because this is not going to be a playable situation. So when it comes to the Nintendo DS, I must say that I think it's a very cool system, but it's going to be a little bit of tinkering. Let's see what's going on with the screens, because I cannot do anything over here. Oh man, this is really tiny. Whew. So there was something going on. Oh, there we go. That's the thing I wanted to showcase. So we can actually switch between both of the screens. We can use the stylus, but you know, this is completely messed up. When they mapped up, yeah, they mapped this particular button, but we can use the stylus with the left joystick. Sometimes it's the right one. It's kind of confusing, but yeah, some of the games are playable. It seems to be also very stable when it comes to the overall emulation performance. But do you really want to play N64 over N64? When you're doing an NDS game like this, that is something you need to decide for yourself. But I think this is enjoyable. I can still remember the Sonic Advance or the Sonic DS game. They would have like both screens that were going to be switching. That is not going to be an overall great way to play. Some games we're just going to be needing both of the screens like now. But this is playable. So we do have Sega Saturn. Besides having Dreamcast, also Sega Saturn is, I wouldn't say at least playable, but it is available. Let's put it that way. So it's going to be a hit or miss, but I just wanted to check out a two-dimensional game to see how that is actually going to be running on this. Okay, now we're going to be loading. Yep, and there we go. I'm glitching. Oh. This game is pretty brutal. But you can see that this is just a very playable situation over here, and that is really cool. But again, it's going to be a hit or miss. What I love about the Sega Saturn, that it is absolutely playable with some of the games, as you can see. But for example, on 64, we do have a lot of struggles. Pressing M will get you into the Yaba Shenshiro emulator that they're using over here. And we can just exit and make quick loads and quick saves. Where we have reached the point that PlayStation 1 is playable, I do want to showcase. And yeah, you know, when PlayStation emulation is just to this level that we can play them on very cheap devices now. It looks amazing on this clamshell and this beautiful 3.5-inch IPS panel. So this can be a very cool portable PlayStation emulator at this point. Unfortunately, there is no background music. That is a common problem, that they ripped the wrong, or they ripped it right, but they left the audio out to save some space and on the memory card. But that is quite unfortunate. Pressing the M button, we'll see, you can see having the retro R. But it's quite unfortunate, everything is in foreign language, not English. I know what to press, but you know, it's not the way how you want to mess around with this. So that's quite unfortunate, but yeah, PlayStation 1, it doesn't matter what kind of game we're going to be testing out. It is absolutely going to be playing all of them without any problem on native resolution. Why is Lethal Enforce in here? That's kind of weird. And if you're going to be plugging in the HDMI, we're going to be needing an HDMI mini cable. Man, my screen is really filthy. But the point is that this seems to be working fine. This thing will automatically reboot and, yep, filthy screen. And I like it. And this function is something we do see more often nowadays. So I think that is pretty cool. It's kind of weird that they put all of these games in the app over there. But let's see what's going on over here. We can even have some Half-Life going on. So let's boot up that. And in the meantime, let's have some fun with this. And let's see how long it will load up. And does it actually work? Yep, it seems to be working fine. Okay, that's kind of cool. Oh, show console, start a new game. Oh, I need to press the E button over here. Oh. Yeah, okay. I think I just completely messed up. Let's try a different one. But it also will project the same kind of resolution on the bigger screen, because now actually this would be the best screen actually to use the Sonic Mania game for. But yeah, it seems to be working now with the bezels enabled due of the original screen size over here. And even for performance, yep, we're going to be looking at this, and yeah, it looks a little bit more pixelated than normal because it's lower, using a lower resolution, but it looks also kind of weird. But out of the box, this is kind of cool. So let's see what happens if we're going to be pulling this thing out. Whether it automatically goes back to the device itself, or is this going to be rebooting? It's going to be rebooting. Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, so when it actually comes to, let's say, the product itself, I must say that I'm quite surprised how good it actually is. I mean, particularly this is like the hinge problem has been fixed, or that's what they told me. I've been abusing this thing quite a lot to see if I can force it, to see if I can actually like break it. But so far I didn't accomplish that. So the Miyoo Flip is a quite interesting, let's say, clamshell design. I really love the display inside of this thing. It's very ergonomic and it comes with a very nice weight, and the way how this thing is absolutely awesome. But with the fierce competition of clamshell design, will this be the ultimate one for you? Yeah, that is something you should decide. Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, and it will be great to see you in the next video. Whew, man, please subscribe, hit the little bell. Oh man, I just farted. Whew, and I'm getting high of it. Whew.